is full of bullshit, and we're here to call it out. Real talk, raw truth, and plenty of spice. Welcome to She Who Thrives.
We're your hosts, Caitlin,
Mindy,
and Harrison.
And today's episode is all about motherhood, the real side, pregnancy, postpartum, highs, lows, and everything in between. Motherhood is one of the most beautiful things, but it's also one of the hardest. And today we're going to be honest and talk about all of it.
Before we jump in, we just want to do a little trigger warning that we are going to be talking about pregnancy, postpartum, and loss. So if that is something that's a little too heavy for you, just take time for yourself while you're listening or just skip this episode. How do you guys feel like each pregnancy was different for you?
with Caitlin, I was sick right off the bat. I swear, the day we conceived, I started throwing up. And I remember, obviously, it was my first pregnancy, and I remember saying to Grandma, like, because I was sick all day long. It wasn't just,
In the morning.
yeah. And I remember saying to her, but I thought they call it morning sickness. Like, I thought, and she's like, yeah, because you're sick from morning to morning to morning to morning. And I was like, oh, great. So yeah, I threw up the whole time with her until about 4.5 months. And then it was just a nightly thing for me. And then with Chasen, I felt pretty good until about 3 months. And then I threw up with him. And the twins, let's just say that was a whole different, I was so sick with them. And I knew that something was definitely different with that pregnancy. I had no idea I was having twins. And I mean, it got to the point where I really couldn't do anything because I was going in and getting injections for the morning sickness. I needed help to even get in the tub. I was so sick. And then they found out that my kidneys were not working like they should. So that's when they sent me in for an ultrasound. I was about 4.5 months pregnant. 4.5.
It took that long for them to find that out? Was it just because of back in the day?
Yeah.
Because now
It's different than, it was definitely different than how you guys have it now. But yeah, so when I went in to see kind of what was going on with the kidney, that's when she was like, I have 2 heads. Well, not just 2 heads, 2 full babies, but yeah. And yeah, I tore my esophagus with them throwing up. My sciatic, the way they were laying, that's why I was having the kidney issue, because they were kind of kinking something, I don't know. But then, I had the sciatic pain and is it sciatic or sciatica?
It depends on who you ask. I think
I've heard it both ways.
I prefer to say sciatic, but.
And obviously my belly was much bigger with them. I only gained 2 pounds more with them than I did my other pregnancies, but I don't gain weight anywhere but belly, and it starts right below my boobs, and I am just a round beach ball. So yeah, I mean, that was definitely a different pregnancy, than all of mine were so different.
Yeah, mine too. I think with Brecklin, it was the same as you said. With me, I was sick, I feel like the whole time. I also had gallbladder issues, which was so terrible. I think I was in the ER once a week. And that didn't start, I had no problems with it beforehand. And that didn't start till everything kind of got squished in there, And then, yeah, I was in the ER once a week, I swear, for gallbladder attacks. And that was probably worse than the sickness. That was horrible. With Nixon, I think I threw up maybe twice. Nixon's wasn't bad. I was humongous. My belly was actually humongous with Nixon. I don't know what that was, but huge. It looked like I was having twins.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. Grandma Vicky asked me if I was having twins.
Well,
She was like, Kate, are you sure there's not 2 babies in there? And with Ava, again, just like Brecklin, really, really sick. I also had COVID when I was pregnant with Ava, which was just awful on top of it. I have ulcerative colitis, which is, an autoimmune. But with all 3 of my pregnancies, it got really, really bad. I think it got the worst with Ava, but it was pretty miserable. I was in the ER for it a few times with her too. Yeah, they were all pretty different.
Yeah, I feel like, well, mine were so different because I was like 100% convinced that Jet was going to be a girl because it was so different. For me though, I don't really feel like I actually never threw up during any of my pregnancies. With Jet, I felt like there were times where I was like, oh, I probably could have, but I'm like, I'm not going to. It was I could control it enough. With Brixton, I felt awesome until I hit like 15 weeks, and then my hips hurt so bad. My hips and like my tailbone was like so hurty, and my back.
Yeah.
And when I was like, I think around like 30 weeks is when my doctor ended up actually putting me on prednisone because I was so freaking achy. I would just lay in bed and my hips would just sit there and throb. So then, and my delivery was super good, and I really didn't have much to complain about other than like achiness and pain. And honestly, pretty close to the same with Jet. But I do feel like I got way more achy and hurty, like literally a week after I found out I was pregnant. I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. Yeah. And I don't know really what that's from because the baby's not big enough to like be making you hurt, but I think it's maybe your body just like moving and expanding, and I don't know what it is, but the same thing, I had to go on prednisone because it was so bad. And the thing was, when I would be on prednisone, it was amazing. Like I think I think it was like a week prescription or maybe 5 days or something, and when I was taking it, it made me feel great. But then literally the next day, like when my prescription ran out, it was like nothing had ever even happened. So yeah, I got lucky that I never got the sickness, but I got unlucky that I got the very, very achiness. But some people get both. So
yeah, heartburn too.
Yes.
I had heartburn horribly with all of you. I literally carried around a thing of saltine crackers everywhere I went because if I got hungry at all, that heartburn would just like intensify, and I remember, and that's the only time I've ever had heartburn is when I got it one time after Adam and I got married, and I'm like, I have heartburn. The only time I ever get heartburn is when I'm pregnant.
Yeah. I had it for Ava too. It was like so freaking disgusting. I asked my doctor about it, but I literally had to carry around like a freaking spit cup, like I had dip in my mouth when I had.
I remember that.
Because I had like so much extra saliva in my mouth all the time. And the doctor was like, yeah, that can happen. I was like, this doesn't sound. With Nixon, I got something called PUPS. I think it was like more towards the end. I don't know if you remember, Mom, but it was like a rash.
I got that.
I guess you're only supposed to really get it on your belly, but I got it on my arms and my legs, and it was just covered, and it was miserable. Like I didn't sleep because I was just like scratching my skin raw all the time.
You know what I got? I actually forgot about this. After I had Brixton, my body was like allergic to my tattoos. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Every tattoo I had. Yes. Every tattoo I already had welted up huge. It was like covered in hives, and I could not stop scratching it. And I was like, I went on for like weeks, and finally I went to the doctor and I was like, I'm allergic to my tattoos. And Dr. Spanos was like, I've never heard of that before. But he like prescribed me something and it took care of it. But
that's so weird.
It was the weirdest thing. Yes. You would have thought, but that's pregnancy for you.
I loved being pregnant except for the sick stuff. Like I loved the feeling of being pregnant.
Kicking and all of that, but
yeah.
I have hiccups and
I never felt the hiccup thing.
Really?
No. No. And I feel like with Jet, he moved so freaking much all the time, but it was only at night. Where Brixton moved all the time, day and night. And Jet would be like 2 a.m. He's like, there he goes. You know, he'd go crazy. But I don't ever remember like hiccup feeling. Or maybe I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it could be. Karsten and Braxton moved 24/7.
I'm sure.
Once I got so big, it was like sleep was
Not
once they got so big, yeah, because I remember, because I had to get ultrasounds after they found out I was having twins. Obviously, you have to do more than if you're just having one baby. But they would literally get other people, I think I've talked about this, to come in and do the ultrasounds because they would move so much that they're like, we can't keep track of which one is which one. So yeah, they came out fighting.
And they
WE.
Shocking. Wouldn't expect any less.
And then you have some women that they're like, oh, my pregnancy was perfect. I was never sick. I never, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Different everybody's pregnancies are.
Well, even with this last pregnancy, one of my best friends, Taylor, she gets so freaking sick. I feel so bad for her because we would voice memo each other every day. And I'm over here complaining about I'm in pain. And she's over here can't even hardly get out of bed because she's throwing up multiple times a day and having to go get IVs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I cannot imagine doing that. And then being like, ooh, I want another baby.
You tend to forget.
It's true.
But
I forget.
But my mom was very sick. All her pregnancies, throwing up. Actually, she says with me, she was like throwing up like on the delivery table.
Oh,
all of my sisters, I think it's kind of I don't know. I wonder if it is a genetic thing.
Well, you know what? The only time I got sick was when I was in labor.
Really?
Because, yes, and it wasn't even from, obviously, it wasn't from pain. It was with Brixton, I had waited so long to get my epidural because honestly, and I know people aren't going to believe me when I say this, but my contractions with Brixton were not excruciating. They were painful, but they were not excruciating like they were with Jet. And I had waited until I was almost to an 8 to get my epidural. And only because it was more so I was scared of what it could feel like.
I'm shocked that they gave it to you.
They said if you could stay in one position while they gave it to you, you could have the epidural. And I was like, yep, I can do it. I can do it. And that's why I got it, was because I was more nervous about like tearing or something and the pain from that than actually like the contractions. But once I got my epidural, then things started to kind of slow down. And I remember I was looking at my legs and Chasen had like moved my leg. And for whatever reason, like seeing my body move without me being the one moving it made me so sick. I was like, I'm going to throw up. Yes. I did not like that at all. That's the only time I threw up with Brixton and it wasn't like I was throwing up everywhere. It was just like, ooh, that was gross. And with Jet, I just remember that was scary. My blood pressure immediately dropped after my epidural, and I told the nurse, I'm like, I think I'm going to heaven.
Oh my gosh.
It was not a good feeling, but yeah.
With Kate, I got my epidural. With Chasen was a much easier delivery than Kate. Kate was a hard delivery. She did not want to come out. They actually had people up on top of me pushing my belly because he had tried to rotate her. She wasn't coming out her face wrong way. So he tried to rotate her. His hands kept cramping. So he kept working on his hands. They had the little things inserted in her head, and it was bad. Yeah. They used the forceps to get her out, but it took forever. And then, they had the nurses laying on me. So every contraction, they would try and help push down. It was crazy.
Did you hurt so bad after that?
I ripped. Well, they gave me a episiotomy and I ripped this way and this way with you. Yeah. And I had a butt full of hemorrhoids. And she came out and they had got half of her face with the little forceps. And so she was black and blue. And this little ear was flopped over from it. And she had cone head to the max. And I was like, How to make an ugly kid. I cried. I was like, oh my gosh. And my mom was in there and she was like, she will change. She will change in hours. She'll look different, which she did. But, I don't think that, that's something that I have said to all of you. Like, they don't come out like cute if you have a hard delivery. So don't be nervous when you might look at them. And with Chase and I only had to push like 3 times and he was out. Completely different. Had no hemorrhoids with him. And then the twins were C-section. So that's completely different,
Were you so scared, like with Chase and after that it was going to be?
Oh, yeah. Same. Mm-hmm.
And the twins, like when they found out it was twins, they just planned a C-section. There was no option or what?
Because of the way they were laying, they said that I could probably deliver the first one, which was Karsten, was baby A. They said I could deliver him probably natural. Well, not natural. Out my vagina. But then the other one was going to have to come out C-section.
Which at that point, you want to do?
That's stupid. Why would I go through all that if you're going to have to cut me open anyway?
You know what I didn't know? That you can have an elective C-section. I had no idea that you could, that A, I didn't know insurance would pay for that. And B, I didn't know that that was even like a thing that you could do. Not that I would ever want to do that, but
yeah, that's what I chose with Nixon after. I was like, I'm not even going to risk it. Don't try to.
Yeah, but you've had a C-section before, so that makes more sense. One of the girls that I'm talking about, I actually worked with her and we were friends when we worked together. And when she had her baby, I actually saw TikTok and she like posted about how she was having an elective C-section. I said, oh, that's interesting. I didn't even.
But why? Is that because they're worried what it's going to do to their vagina?
I have no idea.
How about what a C-section does to your stomach?
That's the thing. Like, more people see your stomach than they do your coochie. So,
yeah,
I have no idea. And I don't know if some people do it that way because, well, I guess you could basically plan to have a vaginal birth too, because you could schedule an induction. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the idea was behind that.
I would have a vaginal birth 1,000,000 times over a C-section.
I remember when I went in with Brixton, the only thing in my mind was Kate. I remember like a couple weeks prior, you had talked about like C-sections and how, you can kind of feel them like tugging and pulling. And I was like, oh my God. I remember just telling Chase and I'm like, please do not let them give me a C-section. Cannot have a C-section. We have to have this baby naturally.
It's more like a pressure where you can feel them in there doing stuff, and it's just kind of like
but that's like a gross,
greasy feeling,
Because I was awake for my wisdom teeth. I just had like numbing. And I hated that because same thing. Like I couldn't feel pain, but I could feel like cracking and pulling. And I was like, ooh. So I can't imagine like knowing my stomach is flopped open and my organs are out.
I actually felt a lot of tugging and pulling and pressure with Ava.
I remember you saying that after.
Yeah, Brecklin was just a horror story from the beginning. Because I was 41 weeks, he wouldn't induce me. Finally, at 41 weeks, don't you remember me being on the floor, like in the fetal position all day? We finally went in there and they were like, okay, well, go in at whatever time this evening, if you're still hurting. So I went in, I waited, they checked me, and I was at a 1. Yeah, and the whole time that they had me in that waiting period, didn't progress, but they were like, okay, we'll let you go. So then, I don't remember how quickly I progressed, but I pushed for like 3.5 hours pushing. And he tried everything too, vacuum. He literally ripped me open with his hands. Oh. Yeah, it was so terrible.
Yeah, that was a bad deal.
Yeah. And then, they just put me to sleep with her because it was an emergency. But I thought I was done.
Which all of us were wondering why the hell he hadn't done that earlier, because he couldn't get her out with the vacuum. He would put it on her head and he would just yank that thing and it would snap off and blood would just fly. And we were all horrified in there.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad.
Not only for her, but for Kate as well. You know,
You're like,
it was the worst birth experience ever.
Yeah, I'm glad that I was just like so in the zone, focused on trying to push her out, because I don't, and maybe I just blocked all that out, but I don't remember, you know. I'm glad I didn't see what you guys saw. Yeah. And they took me back. I thought I was dying. Like I don't know what they gave me, but all I saw was like these blue images, and then everything went like the light, you know. And I don't remember anything after that except waking up in the delivery room like, did my baby die? Where's my baby? But she looked like an alien too. I was like, holy cow.
And she was in the NICU for
8 days
ever and almost didn't make it. And
yeah, I remember the doctor being like, listen, unless I come up to your room and talk to you, there's no need to worry, you know. And then him coming up into my room and the next day and talking to me like, we don't think she's gonna live. That was horrible. Nixon's was a lot better. Like we planned a C-section from very early on and never had any contractions. Smooth sailing. He was perfectly fine. Same with Ava. Easy peasy.
Nothing's worse than something scary happening with your baby.
Yeah, especially first time. And I had seen, you know, I got to see Cove be born like 6 months prior, and that was like so smooth. That was like the first time I had ever seen that. So I went in thinking, you know, same thing, and it wasn't at all.
Yeah, when I had Jetty and he had like came out, and I remember with Brixton, there's a video of it. He comes out and he doesn't scream like immediately, but it's not that long of a delay. But when you're like sitting there, you're waiting for it. And I remember being like, is he okay? And the doctor was like, he's fine. And then with Jet, like he finally did scream, but it was like a weird noise. And I was like, that doesn't sound normal. Mm-hmm. And Jason was like over like trying to calm me down. And I was like, no, like, go be with Jet. Something is not right. He doesn't sound normal. And Spanish is so good because I feel like even if he was like nervous about something, he would never show that unless it was really bad. So I'm so grateful that he was always like, he's going to be okay. He's okay. But that noise, like lasting for as long as it did, he had Strider for people who don't know. It's just like a very high pitched.
Yeah, it was different.
It's like a gasping, like his
like the esophagus isn't quite developed like it should.
So you're always like worried about them, the way that they breathe and their chest going in. And I was just
his little chest would just sink every time he would breathe. Yeah.
I'm glad that's over.
Woo! The problem, girls, I hate to tell you this, but you think all the worry's gone after
once we have babies.
Well, now I have all my kids, all their wives,
now you have to
my grandkids.
I know Brecklin is like extra worrisome too, like with her blood stuff. I don't even know about that one. Let's just adopt.
Did you guys have any weird cravings, or did you have any? Did things set you off differently, you know, emotionally? Did you feel differently?
I craved cereal with all three of them. I wanted cereal, like specifically like Frosted Flakes. I don't know why, but cereal, yes. I don't remember like emotional changes. I really don't. I mean, I'm sure there were some, but I can't pinpoint.
Yeah. I think just in general being more emotional, but there wasn't like
this huge shift.
Yeah, I think with Brixton for me, why I struggled, because at that time, Chasen thought it would be like this great idea to get on a meal plan and get super fit and ripped while I'm over here getting super fat. Mm-hmm. And so I remember like he started looking so good. He's always looked good, but he was really like fit. And I remember just being like, I feel like this fat, chubby, ugly little blob next to you. and you don't want to eat a midnight snack with me because it's not in your meal plan. So I feel like a piece of shit because I just keep eating everything. But with Jet, he didn't do that. So he would eat with me.
Yeah.
I will say though, with Jet, I gained a lot more weight and I was way more cautious about what I ate. I was way more active with him. And I obviously also had to care for a toddler and I still gained more weight. So
did you notice you gained weight in different places, like, or was it all belly?
Well, I feel like I gained most of my weight in like my legs and my belly. But obviously this time I had boobs because I had gotten implants after I had Brixton. And so I literally felt like my boobs were going to rip off.
Yeah, my boobs were.
And then when I got milking, I was literally like, oh my God, there's not even going to be a bra out there for me. Which funny little side story, my sweet, sweet dad came to visit.
Oh my hell.
And I had a bad experience trying to breastfeed with Brixton. And so I just decided, especially for my mental health, that wasn't even a question for me. I was just going to go straight to formula. People can judge me. I don't really give a shit. And so I had asked my dad to go get me some cabbage from the grocery store because, you know, people say that helps dry up your milk. And my milk had just come in like that day. So my dad goes and gets groceries, whatever. He comes home and he comes home with like shredded cabbage for like a taco or something. And I didn't want to say anything. So I just like put it in the fridge and was like, thank you. And then of course Jason like pulls it out and he's all, what's this? And my dad goes, oh, it's for Harrison's like milk or something.
Oh my gosh.
I remember because I was over there and Jason being like, this is the cabbage he bought. And I just started butting up. I'm like, are we just going to stuff her bra with it or what?
You ate it. That was the best part of my life. Just eat the cabbage. And that, which I guess if you don't know that, but it's even funny. 8 sisters. But all of them probably breastfed. I don't know. But it was so freaking funny.
That is funny.
He tried.
He did try.
He just didn't understand the assignment. What surprised you guys the most about being pregnant?
How long it feels.
Freaking eternity.
It feels a lot longer than 9 months.
Honestly, I think the biggest thing about being pregnant and having your baby is learning how much you can love something, well, before you even have it, you know, you can love this little human that you've never even seen before and just, it's crazy. I don't think you realize until, you know, you're pregnant, like that kind of love, because it's definitely a different kind of love, you know?
I also think what's crazy is I remember I'd always try and picture what's Brixton gonna look like? What's he gonna? And I like would close my eyes and I couldn't, like nothing would pop into my brain. And after I had Brixton, when I was pregnant with Jet, I was like, even when I would try and think about what Jet was gonna look like, all I could picture was Brixton. And he came out, and I mean, they definitely have similarities, but they still looked very different. Like Jet had way darker hair and his eyes are completely different, but I mean, they both have the tiniest little nose, which I don't know how that happened because me and Jason both have huge noses.
I definitely wasn't expecting blonde hair, blue eyes, or such light-haired children. That would,
yeah, I'm sure.
Definitely be.
But Brecklin and Nixon looked a lot alike.
Yeah, but I even think like, I mean, even now, like Brecklin and Ava have a lot of,
yeah.
It was just dark. It was the dark version of Brecklin. Yeah.
Well, I feel like Brecklin's the lighter version of you.
Yeah, that's true. Somebody told her the other day, she was like, she had her little FCCLA thing. They had to serve food at Culver's for fundraising. One of the girls was like, "Is that your mom? You look just like her." She's like,
"Aw." That's so cute.
You know what I think the hardest part about I don't know why I didn't think about this, but the hardest part about my pregnancy with Ava, and I guess I didn't expect it either, because I know every time you're pregnant, you're, I guess, I don't know, I don't want to say paranoid, but just like overly cautious. Like, you want to make sure everything is okay the whole time that they're moving, and But Brooklyn had her first seizure when I was pregnant with Ava, and that was very, very traumatic for me. And I remember after that, like, I didn't sleep because I would just like lie awake and just make sure that she was moving all night, every night. That was probably actually the hardest part about being pregnant with her, was the anxiety just from what had gone on with Brooklyn.
Yeah, I can see that. Or the anxiousness of before you have like your anatomy scan, you're just sitting here thinking, oh, please, please, please make sure that everything is okay. That, that's also another, and you can't really explain that to someone who's never been pregnant, because you would, like, most people are like, oh yeah, most babies are fine,
Yeah.
But I don't know. It can happen to anyone. Any little thing can happen to anyone. You could have a zero family history of it, and you could be the first one, and it's just, which, granted, I would love my baby no matter what they may have had or didn't have, and if they had no toes or whatever, but it's still a thought. And I think it's not even what they're going to look like or their health or whatever. It's like, I just hope that, I was telling Chase about this the other day. I'm like, I just hope that everyone is kind to my kid, and I hope that my kid is kind, because there's nothing worse than like hearing about a kid come home from school and they've been bullied or whatever, for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's not great.
Thinking about someone being mean to your kid is like, oh, that's so sad.
Wanting to punch somebody else's little kid in the face is a great feeling.
Yes.
Did you guys worry at all when you were pregnant, like with your first kid, that it might be ugly?
I didn't really. I will say, I was like, please just have a little speckle of hair.
I got a real baldy the first time. That was a shock.
Which, it's not like Brixton had like a lot of hair by any means. He had a little bit.
But you had the least amount of hair of all my kids.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You, then Karst, then Chase, and then Braxt had the most. But yeah. Chase and Braxt had a good, yeah.
Nixon had a little bit. Do you remember Ava's like peacock? No matter what I did, it was sticking straight up.
Jenny had a good amount for a minute. Yeah. Until my dad came over and rubbed it all off. He thought it was hilarious. I was so butthurt. He was like literally going like this.
Like a magic wand.
Yes. He was like, look, he's going to be like Papa. I'm like, Dad, stop. I want it to stay. Oh, his hair is getting lighter, though. It's definitely lighter than it was when he was born, but it's still darker than Brixton's.
Yeah. I know after you have a miscarriage, you realize how many people have miscarried. I mean, it's crazy how many people have miscarried a baby. Between Chasen and the twins, I got pregnant, and it was not a good time for me to be pregnant. Things had definitely taken a turn for the worse for Brad and I, and I did not want to be pregnant. I didn't know how long we would be married, and I didn't even tell him when I found out I was pregnant. I didn't tell anyone. And then Caitlin's birthday is January 22nd. Chasen is January 24th. And we had done like a little combined birthday party. And I remember telling them on the 23rd when I'd obviously told Brad, and I'd finally gotten excited about it. But I was probably like 10 weeks at that point. And I told the kids, and I miscarried the next day. And I felt so guilty for so long about that, because I did not want to be pregnant. I didn't want to have a baby. I things were shitty in our marriage. A baby was not going to fix that. And I felt so horrible. And the kids were both devastated, but yeah, it was like, it was my fault, and I had that guilt for a long time. Then obviously, we worked on things and I decided to get pregnant when I did with the twins. But miscarrying's hard. I had to go in and have a D&C done, and I wasn't out when they did that. And it was so very painful. I remember grandma being in there with me, and I told her, I'm like, I wanted to kick him in his face. And she's like, did he not numb you up? And I was like, no, I don't know if they forgot. I don't know what happened, because everybody that says they've had to be a little scraped out, nobody has ever said that they weren't numbed up. So I don't know, but it was horrible. I know you've struggled with that, I don't think people talk about miscarrying enough, because I know there's people who really, really want babies, and then they miscarry, and it's like, it's a death, obviously. And I just don't think it's probably talked about enough.
Well, and I think too, because there's so many people that think that a baby isn't a baby until a certain point or whatever. So they think, well, why would you be sad about it? It's not even a baby yet. But obviously, it might be someone who's never been pregnant before, and so they just don't understand it. Or I don't know. I think that even if you're not in like a good spot to have a baby like you were, I think it's still just a really hard. I've never personally gone through it, but I've had friends go through it, or my mom went through it, and I think it's just always going to be a devastating thing for somebody.
Yeah. Mine was different. I mean, I don't even remember how old Ava was. Less than a year.
Mm-hmm.
But just being the sickest I think I have probably ever been in my entire life. And the day I finally went
We weren't trying to have a baby.
I thought you said the sickest. I was like, Kate.
Probably that too, yeah. I think I bled for like a month before that. Just thought I've always had weird stuff with my period, and it's always been pretty terrible. So I guess I didn't really think anything of it. But then the day I finally went in, I remember like sitting in one spot on the couch like the entire day, like with Ava in my lap. I couldn't go up and down the stairs because I hurt so bad. I could not move. So I waited until like when we got home from work at like 6:30 and went in, and the ultrasound and all kinds of stuff, and said, it was an incomplete I don't know the word they use, an incomplete miscarriage. So then, they had to go in and do the same thing, but because it had been so long, I had sepsis at that point. So I like almost died. It was pretty bad. But I think, it was different for me because I didn't have any idea the whole time,
Yeah.
But that would be so hard to realize, like, oh my gosh, like I had a baby in me this whole time. I didn't even know.
Right. Yeah. A lot to process.
Yeah.
I remember asking the nurse, like, okay, just be honest with me. Like, should I be worried? Is this bad? And she was like, yeah.
That's always bad when they are honest and you're like, oh.
Do you think it helps if it is something people know you're pregnant, and you're excited about it and you do miscarry? Do you feel like it helps to have people acknowledge that? I feel like even, we talked about this during our suicide thing, which is two totally completely different things. I understand that, but how suicide is like, people don't know what to say, so they just say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that same way around that, where people just really don't know what to say you, so maybe they more so avoid saying anything?
I don't think so. I mean, I think everyone's just like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I think Yeah, I was put in a very hard situation when I was pregnant with Jet. A friend of mine was also pregnant, and we were so excited. And she ended up miscarrying, and I felt almost like guilty that I was still pregnant and she wasn't. And it was like so hard. But I remember thinking to myself, okay, if the roles were reversed, would I want my friend to just not talk to me anymore or not check up on me? Like, and so I just remember like, okay, I can still be excited that I am having a baby while also being there for a friend who has lost hers. And I think that it's a hard position to be in, but think about the position that your friend is in. You know,
Right.
they need to be there for them too.
Well, and I've heard before of, sisters that are pregnant or
Yeah.
like that, best friends that are pregnant at the same time. And it's a reminder every milestone
Yeah.
that, oh, I should have a baby the same age that's doing this. So it is a hard thing, but I think you for sure did the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's not something you should feel guilty about, but I completely understand why you do. I think you're a very unkind human if you don't have a little bit of those feelings,
Sure, yeah. I think, yeah, the worst thing you can do is say nothing or say everything, everything happens for a reason. Like people don't want to hear that at those times.
Yeah.
How many of your pregnancies were planned versus unplanned?
I can confidently say both of mine were planned. Although I will say, I did not plan on getting pregnant the first try both times.
Caitlin was not planned. The other ones were. And yeah, all we had to do was talk about it, and I was pregnant too.
Yeah.
We didn't even have to have intercourse. It was just talking about having it, and I was pregnant.
Me too. Just the middle one. That's it.
Just Nixers was planned.
Yep.
What a guy. What a guy.
That little boy.
Let's talk about postpartum for a minute. I don't feel like I ever had like postpartum depression. Like with you, it's scary because you don't know what you're doing. And I remember one night, like Brad did not want my mom to stay there because he wanted to be the one to help.
That is exactly Chasen. He, all the time, we're not staying at my mom's. We're not staying at my mom's. And I'm like, her house feels a little like safer though. Like no one's gonna break into her house, but they might break into ours.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, go ahead.
And so mom didn't stay there, and I remember you like choking a little bit, and us both like freaking out. And so then it was like we would sleep in the living room with you in your little bassinet.
Why is the living room less scary than the bedroom? It always is.
So
why is that? I see memes about it all the time. It's always the first few nights in the living room. Okay, I won't interrupt you. I just had to say that.
it's true.
It is. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. And then, I was a little sad that she wasn't there,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like a postpartum depression. I never had that. With Chase, and it was just like, I got this. I know what I'm doing. I felt good. My crotch felt good. My butt felt good. I was sitting cross-legged in my clothes within days. I remember Tony Miller coming over and she was like, how are you sitting cross-legged like that on that chair? And I'm like, girl, I didn't rip. I don't got a butt full of hemorrhoids. This is amazing.
And I'm not pregnant anymore. Oh, that's funny.
I think the hormones are real always. You just gave birth to a human and it's all a change. And of course, you're going to have those times where you're more emotional than normal or whatever it may be. But like, I didn't have the depression, the anxiety, the Karsten and Braxton were in the hospital for, Braxton was in for 5 days. Karsten was in for 7 days. I was nursing both of them. So even when I got to take Braxton home, and with that, you know, I'd had my C-section. So I was in there a little bit longer. Plus my spinal didn't I got the spinal headache because of my epidural that they'd given me. It didn't patch like it should have. So I ended up being in there the whole time Braxton was in there because they had to go back in and go through the hole and do a blood patch on it to stop my spinal headaches. So,
That happened to my mom too, actually.
those were bad. Like you would sit up at all and you would be like, oh.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was lucky to be in there for 5 days, but I took Braxton home. You know, I did stay at grandma's because she was much closer to the hospital than we were. We lived out in the sticks. And, you know, taking
Winchester.
school and chasing to preschool and having to go back to the hospital every 2 hours to nurse the baby. And I would nurse Braxton while I was there because I wanted them on the same schedule. And it was hectic, but it was never like this anxiety. I think the problem I had then was I was so worried that I was going to spend more time with Braxton because he was home than I did with Karsten. That was like a huge thing for me. I was like, I don't even want to hold somebody else hold him. I don't want to hold him while he's here because I'm not holding my other baby. And I felt so guilty about that, you know? But yeah, I never had to deal with the yuck like other people do.
I don't think I got postpartum with Brooklyn. I mean, I was living at your house and it was so nice to have you there. Like she would wake up and I would breastfeed her and then you would take her in the morning and spend time with her and then bring her back to me when she needed to be fed, you know. I don't think I had postpartum at all with Brooklyn that I can remember. I had a really bad postpartum with Nixon. I think the anxiety was the worst, but he was like a little bit older. He wasn't like a newborn, you know? And that was really, really bad. Really bad. Like, didn't want to live. You didn't want me to like even shower by myself, I don't think. But also I felt like, I didn't live with you when I had him, but I felt like I could do it. I was fine when I brought him home, but it was definitely different, And then, I got it with Ava too, but I didn't really talk about it. I was here by myself. I remember you being here when she was born and you leaving and just like losing it. Like that was just awful when you left. But yeah, I don't think that I talked about it. Like I just kind of dealt with it,
Ugh. I think it's really weird because I have openly talked about my postpartum and how horrible it was, but it's not even really that I was like afraid of taking care of a baby. It was almost like I literally felt like I could not take care of myself. And I know now, at the time I didn't, but I know now it is just because of that huge drop of hormones. And the best way that I can even describe it is like when you're shivering uncontrollably because you're cold. That is how my body was every night.
Like an epidural shiver.
Yeah. The worst.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And once that shaking would start, I remember the first time it happened, I was laying in that guest bed and I was like, please no, please don't. And then you just sweat profusely and you're shaking and you feel like you need to throw up. So then go throw up. And I was literally crawling on my hands and knees to their pantry. And I remember like putting my hands up on the bottom shelf and like looking up to find something to eat. But I couldn't stand up because I knew if I stood up, I was either going to throw up or pass out or something. And I found a granola bar and I'm curled up in a ball, like eating this granola bar in their pantry. And then I was on my way back to my bed. And I don't know if you guys like heard me or something or what it was, but I just remember they came out into the kitchen and I was looking up at them and I was like, I need help. Like, I cannot do this. And Adam scooped me up off the floor and I was like, please just take me to the hospital. Like, I'm not okay. And it was so, so, so scary. And And then Grandma Andy came over the next day and she was like, we need to get you some Xanax. And I was like, I need more than Xanax. And I am not like a medication person. I personally would rather not, but I was in like, I literally felt like it was life or death. So we go to the doctor and he could prescribe me Xanax, but at the time I was trying to breastfeed, and you can't obviously be on Xanax while you're breastfeeding. And there was also a pandemic and you couldn't get formula. So I was like, well, formula's not an option right now. I have to breastfeed. So I ended up getting on something else, and it literally was like life-changing. I was still pretty anxious, but I was able to finally like sleep, and I wasn't getting those horrible shakes. Which honestly, what do you think causes that? Like, I know it's anxiousness, but is it like you're dropping progesterone or something?
I don't know.
I don't know what it was, but and also at the time, like I was working full-time while I was pregnant, and then, I was planning on going back to work, and I did. And Chasen was working full-time, and he only had like a week or two off. I think it was maybe only 1 week off. And so this whole time I'm like so stressed about like, oh my gosh, he has to go back to work. I'm going to have to go back to work, all these different things. So with Jet, I was like, it's going to be way better. I'm not going to have to worry about any of that stuff. And the same thing happened, not nearly as bad, but I got those awful shakes. And I remember just like sobbing on the couch again. I'm like, no, please God, do not let these come back, because I can't survive it again. And I got on the medication, and I actually got on progesterone as well. And I think that helped a ton, but I had never heard of someone getting that. And so it was like not news to me. I was like, what is wrong with me? And so I feel like I talk about it not because I want to scare people, but I want them to know that this can happen. And if it does happen, there are things that can help you.
Yeah.
Because it's an awful feeling.
Well, and you think of what happened to you that was horrible. I mean, I witnessed that every day. I was with you, and you stayed here, and it was horrible. And then you think of those women that have that for months.
Mm-hmm.
And even
and by themselves,
and don't talk about it and don't get help and end up doing something crazy, and yeah, I feel like there's like a shame kind of behind that as well.
mm-hmm.
That shouldn't be, because it's not you. It's not something in your head that you can just go snap out of it, girl. It's all in your head.
I mean, I think even women too, unless you have been pregnant and you've had a baby, like you don't understand the hormones. You don't understand the changes in hormones and getting pregnant and then being pregnant and the different stages of pregnancy and then postpartum. Like, you will just never understand. And what that then can do to you.
And I also think it's getting better now, but I also think that there was like a stigma around getting on medication after you have a baby, and, that if you're on medication, you can't breastfeed. There are options out there if you do want to breastfeed. There are things that can help you. And it wasn't even just medication that helped me. Like, I don't remember who it was, but someone, no, it wasn't Grandma.
Casey brought you something.
Yeah, that cream. But then there was also like a breathing thing that I would do, like to help my body like calm down, because it would, like I said, it would get to this point where I would just uncontrollably shake, and it was like almost like a bad panic attack. If you've ever had a bad panic attack, it was like that for hours a night. And I would literally just have to like breathe and then hold my breath. Yes.
Yeah.
And there were some nights where Jason was like, please just go sleep on the couch. I'll take care of the baby. You don't have to worry about the baby. But then I'd go on the couch and I still couldn't sleep because my body was just like, So if that happens to you, know that there are options out there to help you, and reach out to your doctor, because it can be like debilitating.
Yeah. And I don't think you should be ashamed of that.
No.
It's something that needs to be talked about and needs to be taken care of, because it can get horrible.
Yeah. Well, and when you're not sleeping like that, I think that's why it got so bad with Brixton, is because I had waited, not that I had necessarily waited like this huge long time, but I had waited enough time that like I was so incredibly sleep deprived, and then I was having, you know, this shaky stuff on top of it, and then I wasn't eating because I felt so just yucky. Like I was literally like a freaking worm. Useless.
Mm.
Oh man. Thank goodness for you guys, because I was a worm. I was a pet worm living in the back room.
I remember when you finally felt better and it was time to go home, days and days later. And you're like, can't we just move in? I'm like, I don't want to. Jason's like, we're not moving in.
He's like, we have a dog at home. I'm like, ah, damn it.
Mm. Should we talk about the joys of motherhood?
Yes.
Yes.
Because there are many.
Any favorite parts?
What are they?
Anything that will bring you more joy.
I think the best parts are like just each stage and each milestone they hit, and watching their personality develop, you know, at each stage. And you know, the age the kids are at now, you know, now they're getting into more things like sports or, you know, extracurriculars, and also seeing like little bits and pieces of yourself in them, like, you know, things that they are good at or enjoy, you know, that you did also, but also things that are so completely opposite of you. That's just so cool. Like, I know I've talked about it with Brecklin, but she's just so cool. She's just like so confident and outspoken. You know, she's on student council and FCCLA, and she wants to get up and talk in front of people and do things. And I was like so completely opposite. Please do not call on me to answer a question. I'm not saying the prayer in church class. Like, I don't want to walk in anywhere late because I don't want people to look at me, you know. And she's just like so opposite. And it's just so cool to see them just become their own people, you know.
It's so funny. I remember when I was in school, we'd do like popcorn reading. Someone would call on me and I'd be like, no.
Popcorn reading.
Like you'd read like a paragraph and then you'd be like, Caitlin. And then Caitlin would read. Like when people would call on me, I'd think, no. Or the teacher would call on me and think, no. You have to. It's part of your grade. I don't care. Dock me points.
Feel me. Yeah.
I'm not reading in front of the class. Sue me.
I hated doing anything like that too, like Caitlin said, you know. So yeah, it is cool that Brecklin, I mean, you know, you don't ever have to worry about Brecklin like being married to somebody that treats her like shit, because she will put them in her place. She will stand her ground. She knows.
She already knows she wants to go to law school. She knows what kind of law she wants to practice. Like, she is just...
It's so cute.
She's a cool kid.
I just feel like I look at her and I still see this tiny little 3-year-old that has these little buck teeth and is asking me to go wipe her butt.
Yeah, I know.
I said, you wipe me? I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
She's just so sweet.
You guys talk about the little kids, but, you know, I get to see that. I get to experience that differently through being a grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool because, I mean, the older your kids get, you know, with you all being grown, I still look back at like photos of you guys when you were little, you know, and I'm like, oh, I miss like that picture I sent of Karsten Braxt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, they were just so cute. And I miss you guys being little. I love you guys being big. Like, it is so much fun to be able to like hang out with you guys, like your friends, you know, and go on vacations with you guys and actually enjoy being around my kids as they're adults. But it's also really cool because I still get to see you guys go through all these different stages in life. You know, I get to watch you guys become business owners and become mothers and become fathers and all of those things as well, you know. So I don't think those joys ever like leave, you know.
They just change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm in the phase of now that Brixton's talking, he'll just, say whatever's on his mind. And he'll always tell Chasen and I, like, when we're putting him to bed, Mommy, you're my best friend, or Daddy, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just say, like, such sweet and funny things. And then there's things like he comes in, butt crack of dawn, it's like 5:45. Mommy, I want some D-nuts. And I was like, Brixie, we're not having donuts right now. The sun's not even up. Come get in bed. We're going to go back to sleep. So he lays in the bed and he's like, Mom, I want to go out and find bugs. And I'm like, we're not looking for bugs. We're not having donuts. We're going to bed. In a moment, you're like, oh, please just be quiet and go to sleep. But it's just so sweet. Like, he says the cutest little things. And he really is so sweet. He actually is a Sour Patch because sometimes he's a little butthole. But he can say and be the sweetest little guy. And there's just nothing better than knowing that you're like their comfort and they look for you. Actually, you know what was the best was showing up to his school and seeing him just sitting there playing. And then the second that he sees us, his face just like completely lights up and he is running as fast as he can to the fence. And I was like, wow, like that's all I can ever hope for is to be my kid's favorite person.
Yeah. That's sweet.
Well, my favorite with him is when, I've been trying to take him, like, I see them a lot, but I've been trying to have just one-on-one time with just him one day out of the week. And he is always so good when it's just him and I, but he'll be like, Grandma, call me. And I'm like, how do you say no to that? Right?
Yeah.
Or even Ava, when I was FaceTiming her the other day and I was like, Ava, we're coming. And she had the biggest cheese on her face, and needs to make her countdown calendar and just
stop asking.
Yeah, it's so funny.
We're still trying to work with Brixton on that cousins don't live here because he asks about it all the time. He actually said the other day, I go to the beach with cousins. And I'm like, we can, yes, but not today. We will, but not today. And he's like not understanding the concept of a vacation, but not today.
I know.
Or not cousins today. So
we pray, at dinner and stuff with the kids and make everybody, take turns and pray with Ava, before she goes to sleep. But she almost always like includes him and that it's like so sweet, the things that kids pray for,
I know.
Like, bless her heart. And funny things. She prayed at dinner the other day and asked, if she could go to a cafe and go to a salon to get her hair done. And I was like, what? Like, random things.
I'm doing tomorrow. The cafe and going to the salon.
Oh, Caitlin's like, she told me that on the phone. Caitlin's like, you've never been to Starbucks. And she's like, I want cake pop from Starbucks.
Oh my hell.
The kid at school brought one, so
I told her when I get there, I'll take her to Starbucks and she can get as many cake pops as her desires.
Asking, she thinks that we can like lift our house or lift your house off the ground and just paste it.
Put them together.
Yes, she asks every day. I'm like, oh.
She was talking about Brixton playing with her Barbie house with her.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, she said something about, do you think he'll take it? And I'm like, it's probably too big for us to take, but he probably will take all the little things that are inside your dream house. And she's like, that's okay. He can steal them.
Chill him. I was telling your mom, I'm like, I just hate when that lisp goes away because it's so sweet. Like, I remember Nixon's lisp like it was yesterday. It's the greatest thing. I'm like, every kid has it to some extent.
I watched
These kids I know.
Yeah, I saw a video that popped up on my memories of him when he was little with that lisp, and I literally cried. I was like, he's so old.
I had somebody that messaged me that said, I just want a night in a hotel by myself.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which it's like, yeah, you do get
lonely.
You do get, like touch down. Just leave me alone for 2 minutes. Just don't touch me.
Don't touch me. Don't say the word mom. Yeah.
My name is not mom today.
Mm-hmm.
But
overstimulated, yes.
Even with the frustrations, I mean, there were plenty of times, you know, I think you got a minor, Chasen got a minor, Braxton had his little incident with the Janie, and
Janie? What's that?
Mary
Is
Jane.
that a person?
Wanna?
Oh, the J. I thought you said Janie.
I said Janie, I did.
Oh, Mary Jane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Karsten would have gotten caught with that too, but
He's a saint.
I mean, he coughed it out. I was like, look.
It's like when you sat us all down in the living room and you were like, whose vape is this? And I was all, it's mine. And Chasen's like, why would you tell her that? And I was like, because she was going to find out either way. I think it was Chasen. It definitely wasn't mine. But I wasn't going to lie about it. Like, you know, it didn't just pop up in the couch out of nowhere. You knew it was one of us four.
Stupid kids. Yes. So there is frustration, but the joy outweighs that, you know? And I think when we are frustrated or down or having those moments, that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
But you just have to remember the good.
Yeah, because how many times do you have a day where you're like so frustrated or you feel like you're short-tempered or you snapped over something and then they go to sleep and you lay there and you're like, oh, shit.
I feel like
that.
shit.
Yeah, she was snapped. There's been so
One of those the other day, and she called me and she's like, I feel like the worst mom. And I'm like, it's normal. Like we all go through that,
Yeah.
you know?
so many nice
Like raise our voice. Well, I hope everyone, if you haven't, you're saying.
I swear my Aunt Carly, she's a therapist, which makes sense because that woman, she could have all of her kids screaming, punching, hitting her. Not that they do that, but she could have that. And she would just be like, what does everyone want for dinner?
That's probably how it is too as a mother.
I'm like, she's just like so chill and like nothing stresses her out, I feel like. And I'm like, I want that. I want whatever you're taking, I need. Please.
Yeah.
And I think this is not off topic, but I think I've said this before on here, that I had seen a quote of a mom who posted, it's okay to be mad, but not mean. And I think about that all the time because I'm like, when Brixton goes and does something that I'm like, why would you do that? You know, it's like, okay, he's 3. There are times when he knows what he's doing is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also times where something he does, he doesn't know that that's not okay to do. Like, he doesn't know sometimes that, okay, his feet are dirty. He shouldn't run in the house and hop on the couch, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just remind myself of that. Like, okay, it's okay for me to be upset and be like, Brixton, we don't do that. But it's not okay for me to scream at him and be mean to him because he doesn't know, you know?
Right.
And even if he does know, you don't ever want to purposefully be mean to your kid.
Yeah.
At least I don't.
Yeah, because you do feel bad.
Yeah.
What do you guys feel like the hardest part of being a mom is right now?
Just for me is when I tell him something not to do, like stop hitting the dog, he just keeps doing it and keeps doing it and keeps doing it. And I'm like, what don't you understand about stop? Like, stop doing it. I think that's right now with me, that's one of the hardest things. Jetty, he's easy peasy. We don't have to worry about him yet.
I think mine is, and it's been this for a while, but trying to overcompensate for somebody else and just dealing with the repercussions of, someone else and just beating yourself up over it. I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And, just with that, it's like when any of my kids are struggling with anything, no matter what it is, a breakup of the boys or, you with what you're dealing with right now, that affects me. Claude always says, one of our friends, you're only as happy as your saddest kid.
It's true.
That's rough. That's rough.
And it is, I was talking to somebody yesterday about you. Who was I talking to? And I was like, it's not fair because the kids feel safe with you as their mother and they come to your house after they've been other places, and that's their time to get, I was talking to Grandma Vicky, and that's their time to explode and get it all out. And you're the one that's left to deal with that.
Yeah, me and Chasen had that exact conversation like 3 nights ago. We were talking about, the same thing. He's like, I just feel so bad for Kate. And I'm like, I know. And I even told my dad was here, and I said, Dad, it's May. You know what that means? And he said, what? I said, that's the month we're praying every day. It's our month.
Yep.
May's going to be a good month, everybody. We're putting the good juju out there, and it's going to be a good month. And that means the rest of the year gets to be a good year.
Start of a new chapter.
Yeah, because I'm going to pee myself and I'm freezing cold. I can't believe you're not cold. Look at my goosebumps.
Should we get into some rapid fire mom edition?
Sure. Let's finish it out with some rapid fire.
Sleep or alone time? I don't know. I feel like it depends on the time of day. Like if I'm exhausted and I'm like, okay, I need a nap, I'm going to nap. But like sometimes like I got that little micro needling pen. I would like to do that every once in a while. I haven't done it in a long time because I haven't had alone time.
Yeah.
Have plenty of alone time.
Yep.
Strict schedule or go with the flow?
Go with the flow.
I like to go with the flow too. I guess it kind of depends, like what you're doing. Like if you're just at home or if you're on vacation.
I never really had a schedule with you guys.
I just met people that were on such a like crazy, like rigid schedule with their kids that I was like, I don't know how you
do that.
It was like ruled their whole time.
In the next 3 minutes because my child has to be down by 11:01.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I tried to put, Jetty down at 8 o'clock every night. Sometimes he goes down at 7:30 if he's more tired. Sometimes it's 8:30. But like, I guess I kind of have a schedule, but it's not strict by any means. It's more of a routine.
And if you can have a strict schedule and that works for you,
that works.
Great. Yep. Favorite age so far?
I don't think that I've had one. I have loved them all, like just
wait till they're 15.
No.
That is by far. Oh, that's the next question.
I like where Brixton's at because he's so damn funny. But then I also feel like it's the hardest that I don't know. When he was 2, he was kind of hard because he didn't talk. But I don't know. I would say this is like my favorite because he's just so talkative.
I don't know that I have a favorite either. I love the baby stage.
Yeah.
I love the toddler stage. I love once they start school and are learning things and becoming their own little person. And,
there's like good things about every stage and hard things about every stage, I think.
What do you feel like hardest stage so far with both of you?
Brooklyn a year ago.
Yeah, I feel like both my kids have been easy, good babies, so I don't feel like that was ever hard. I feel like Brixton was hard when he was like 2.5, but then he's also kind of hard still now. But I think it's like a different kind of hard. I don't know. I just think he doesn't freaking listen.
I always said 15 to 19 is the ages that I'm like, wait, you're an ass, you're an ass, and you're an ass. Yeah, it's just, yeah. I always was like, if I could give them up at 15, they could come back at 19 when they start to appreciate you. I just feel like, you think you know everything at that age, and my favorite. You'll both be there one day, and then we'll talk about it.
I'm only about 3 years out, so.
That's crazy.
That is so great.
Like, that's actually insane to think about. What's one word to describe motherhood? Amazing hard.
Amazing hard. Wild ride. It's 2 words. An adventure.
24/7. It's not one word, but one word is hard. You know, I also think
Because we're with our
motherhood, though, is you get unconditional love back from a little person, and you learn unconditional love.
Yeah.
One thing you'd go back and tell yourself as a new mom.
It's going to be okay. Because I think, like sometimes you're just thinking like, is this ever like gonna get better? It's so hard. And then I look back and I'm like, holy shit, having 1 kid would have been a breeze. Why did I not appreciate that breeze while I was in it?
Yeah. Just be kind to yourself.
I think
This is your first time at each stage. Like you said, even at each stage that we get, that's your first time also. So
Also, I think mine, where I'm at a different stage of life than you guys, is, you know, the song "You're Gonna Miss This" is really true. It might be hard in the moment, but once you're out of it, you will look back and you will miss that.
well, I think about that even now, though. Like, not even in motherhood, but like, I remember when I was in high school, I was like, oh, I hate this. And there are some things in my high school age that I wish I could go back to. I wish that I could wake up on a Saturday and not have to worry about anyone else but myself. Or, you know, me and Chasen could.
You're going to be able to do that once your kids are out of the house.
Yeah, but I still miss it for now. Like, I miss being able to just pack up one day and go on a little camping trip with my boyfriend.
Yeah.
I can't do that right.
True.
Miss that. But then I also love my kids, so I'm happy I'm where I'm at. Motherhood isn't one thing. It's beautiful, it's exhausting, it's emotional, it's very overwhelming, but it's so rewarding all at the same time.
This week's tip is to give yourself grace. You're not going to get everything right, and you don't have to. Show up, love your kids, do the best that you can, and that is more than enough.
Thank you for hanging out with us on this week's episode of She Who Thrives. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. We'll be back next Wednesday with a brand new episode. But until then, remember, no matter what you're doing, do it to the best of your ability and always strive to thrive.